I just want to begin by saying that I have a huge responsibility now to help you guys, because I've also been through this myself, and I really want you guys to know that this is a plan that I followed. This is something that I luckily I was able to stumble upon and read upon and gain the knowledge to solve, and I want to share that with you. And I have a huge responsibility now to put you guys on a plan with this guide to get rid of your AKN, not only to bring your self-esteem back, but to also give you a better lifestyle and health in general, because it affects every aspect of your life. So I've got a guide that I'm going to be sharing in the next few videos, and I go in detail about every single aspect of AKN. So I want you guys to sit back, relax, take some notes, and also rewatch this as many times as you need to. And I also want to let you know that this isn't the end. Like, when you reach the last video, it's not the end. I'm gonna have some support channels for you within this guide where you're able to speak to other people who also have AKN, who have also completed the course. I'm not sure when this is going to be completely finished and made, but we're gonna have a channel at some point so you guys can conversate and have a conversation with each other about AKN, probably share some tips and all that type of good stuff. And this course is also going to be frequently updated, so when there's new things, I'll shoot out an email to you guys, and if there's any updates to any aspects, any parts of the course, you'll have full access to any new information that I have to give to you. Now, the thing that I ask for you guys is just to fully go through this course from beginning to end. I don't want you to skip any parts, because I feel like they're very, very important, and they're also going to be linked. And during the program and the guide that I give you, I want you to give at least 3 to 6 months and not give up. I want you to fully commit yourself to the plan that I'm going to give you and the information I'm going to tell you, because that is the only way that this is going to work. I need you to fully commit to this, because I know a lot of you guys are probably on the last stages where you're giving up, or you're about to go for surgery, or you've been thinking about stuff like that. And I want you to just give 3 to 6 months of this guide a try and just see what happens, because I don't want to guarantee anything, but I know it's going to help you so much. So let's begin the guide and let's start treating your AKN. Hello guys, let's dive into the 3 to 6 months plan. Now, ideally this plan should be more than 3 to 6 months, because I want you to be using it even after 3 to 6 months. But I think it's a great start and a way for you to track your progress. We're going to hit 4 components that this video guide will go through, such as hygiene, diet, treatment, and exercise. And I've made the plan extremely simple, so you're just ticking things off every week and tracking your progress. The plan will allow you to easily track your progress without feeling that you're putting in extra work just to do that. Let's take a quick look at the plan. As you can see, the plan is extremely simple. Now, if you look at it, it covers everything that I mentioned previously, such as hygiene, diet, treatment, and exercise. This plan might change slightly, but this is exactly what we're going for. Looking at the template key, we can see that everything here is covered in the video guide. So the video guide is going to be your foundation, and this plan is going to be a way for you to track that progress that you're making. It's as simple as going to the week, putting in the week that you're in, and then ticking off these specific boxes for things that you've done. So for example, hygiene, we're making sure that we've cleaned our brushes, combs, changed our pillowcases, and we've got good hygiene in general. I go over every single aspect in each video, and I want you to just simply track your progress using this. I think the more simple it is, the easier it is for you to be able to follow along. So let's dive into the next video and let's begin. Hello guys, welcome to the first video on this guide, and I want to talk about diet. Diet is going to be the foundation of everything that we're building on. Diet is going to be the main thing that's going to affect your AKN. And I'm just going to be upfront with that. Before we go into anything else, I just need you guys to trust me. If this is going to be a 3 to 6 months plan for what we're going to do, then you need to trust me on this. And the main thing that you need to change, there's so many other things that you can do to help your AKN, but the main one is going to be diet. That's why I'm starting with this, because it's the base, it's our foundation. If we can sort out our diet, everything else that we do is going to be dramatically improved. Like, you're going to see so many changes if you're able to fix your diet. Now, why is diet so important in relation to AKN? Diet is so important because what we eat really affects the bumps at the back of our head. For example, the reason why this is so important is because if we're eating the wrong things, then we might have unnecessary inflammation in our body. And if the bumps at our back of the head are growing larger, that is a good sign that there's something wrong with our diet somewhere that's increasing the size of these bumps. Because when we're eating processed foods, processed sugar, saturated fats, a lot of that is going to affect the size of the bumps on your head. And I know a lot of you guys might not be able to fully change your diet, but I want you to try your best, because this is going to be the most important thing. I know I keep on saying this, but if this isn't sorted, if you don't change your diet and it isn't the foundation, everything else crumbles if we don't have a solid foundation of fixing our diet. Now, I'm going to mention some of the foods that you might be eating. Maybe you need to take a pen and a pad and write down what just your normal diet is. And then at the end, because I'm going to leave you a PDF just for you to see if these foods are the ones that you should be avoiding. And I guarantee with a lot of you guys that you will see that the things that you're eating are actually causing mad inflammation in your body that's making the bumps at the back of your head worse. I'm not just mentioning this for no reason. It's something that I've also had to change, and I've seen significant results. As you can see, even with the image that I put on this video, or the ones that you've seen previously in the PDFs, most of this, the majority of this, is just based on my diet, guys. You have to change your diet. Now, let's talk about some of the foods that you may be eating that's affecting your AKN and increasing the size of the bumps at the back of your head. Like any processed foods, anything processed, you should just try and avoid. I know this might be so difficult to do, but this is the part where most people will fail and most people will break, is just on the diet. Everything else can just be a routine. Changing your diet can be something that I know can be expensive, and I know that can be very difficult, but this is probably the third time that I've said this. You have to follow along, guys. You have to make sure that this is right. So let's start with sugary beverages, sweetened drinks, fruit juices, like things like refined carbs like white bread, white pasta, desserts, things such as cookies, candy, cake, and ice cream. Processed meats. This is even in stuff in takeout food such as hot dogs, sausages, burgers. And this is a big one, processed snack foods, things such as crackers, pretzels, and chips. This is also another one if you're cooking your foods. So processed vegetable and seed oils, soybean and corn oils, if you're cooking your food with these type of oils as well. And one of the biggest ones is alcohol. Alcohol causes a lot of inflammation in the body, and this is just something that we need to know. I know you're going to look at all these things that I just mentioned and think to yourself, what am I going to eat then? And the thing is, there's a lot of alternatives for these things. You just have to find things that are not processed. The main thing is just to avoid processed foods at all costs. Just do this for 3 months and 6 months if you are actually super serious about this. And the changes you will see, trust me, the changes you will see are so incredible. I have a theory, I'm not sure if I'm completely right, but your doctors probably don't even tell you this because they know this is going to be an astronomical level of work to get to this point where you've changed your whole diet. That's why they just shoot you the pills and they just give you the medication. They don't tell you to change your eating habits at the core. In the PDF that's going to be attached to this section of the video, I've put some alternatives for milk, things like milk, and things like sugar, so you're not having processed sugar, because I find that these are usually the main things that people find very difficult to replace. So having alternatives for these things are a great start. This whole video is just me saying to you that you need to change your diet and the importance. This is your foundation for everything else. Getting your diet right and removing these things from your diet is going to help you significantly. So let's move on forward, knowing that, remember, this is the foundation. Everything else that I mentioned is just a layer on top. Changing the things that you're putting inside your body that cause inflammation, you're going to see a huge difference in the size of the bumps at the back of your head. Hello guys, welcome to the second video, and this video is going to be a two-parter around the home treatments that I use to treat my AKN. Now, before I start this, there's a disclaimer. Like I always said at the beginning of this whole guide, I am not a doctor, and if you want to seek professional advice, then I would recommend that you go see your doctor or healthcare professional. These are just things that I've used in my personal life that have definitely assisted me in treating my AKN. And remember, our foundation is always our diet, and this is what I use on top of that. So this is going to be a two-part video. In this one, I'm going to show you the products I use, and then in the second part, I'm going to show you my whole routine. I'm going to go to the bathroom, show you how I wash my hair and everything, how all these products link together and how I use them. And thirdly, what I want to say is I've tried to put together a list of stuff. These are things that I genuinely use, and I think a lot of you guys will be able to pick it up. The names might change based on region and country, but it stays the same as what they do. So a lot of these things, you'll be able to pick them up as well. So let's begin. Now, the first product that I want to talk about that I use, which is very, very important, is starting with Dudu Osun soap. Or Dudu Osun, I don't know how you pronounce it. I used to think it was Nigerian, but this soap is so important. The reason why is because it's just got a bunch of natural ingredients in it, and it gives you that sting, and it helps you just clear your head. Trust me, this you can probably, my mom actually makes natural black soap, but I prefer to use this because it's a whole process for her to make. So any black soap that is original, don't get none of those phonies. Don't get a clone of this. Try and get the original Dudu Osun soap. And if you can't, just get regular black soap. I know a lot of you are going to be black men as well that are watching this. So if you can pick up Dudu Osun or any black soap, that is going to work absolute wonders for you. This has worked really well for me. I also use it on my skin. But genuinely, this is the soap that you want to be using to wash the back of your head, right? There's going to be two things. The next thing I'm going to show you actually in relation to this is Dettol. Now this is an antiseptic. If we look at the back, Dettol is for eczema. You can use it for dandruff, spots and pimples, but this is really strong. Now you want a antiseptic that's got chloroxylenol. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but you just want some sort of antiseptic. The reason why is if you've got your AKN and it's oozing out of the back, you're not going to be using this every day. This is when your AKN is proper oozing and there's blood and you've got bloody pillows. This is what you want to use. This is going to help you a ton. It doesn't necessarily have to be Dettol, but it can be something which is just an antiseptic that's got chloroxylenol inside it. That this is going to work extremely well. You're going to mix this with water and just wash the area off. Now, when we're talking about washing, you need something to wash it with. Firstly, I like to use this. You could probably guess what my favorite color is. Now, I like to use this because this is just a facial scrub. It's not too harsh on the skin, but it really gets in there and allows you to wash your scalp properly. And that's going to be so important when you're using Dudu soap or you're using Dettol. I think that a lot of people, when they're using Dudu and they think that it's not working for them, it's because they're not using an exfoliating scrub. So you really want the soap to get inside there. You don't want to be too harsh on the bumps at the back of your head, but using something like this is going to work extremely well. You're going to see way better results using some exfoliating gloves with Dudu or with Dettol or your antiseptic when you've mixed it all up and you're using it at the back of your head. Most people fail because they just put the bar, put it in their hands and then wash their head. It's not going to work like that. You need to get deep into your AKN, and I recommend an exfoliating glove like this. And the third thing, I don't even know what number I'm on, but the next thing is something like this. You can also pick up something like this if you don't want to use an exfoliating glove. But I recommend that you use an exfoliating glove because I've seen way better results using a glove like this than using something like this. But this is also a great alternative, so you can just get into there. And if your AKN is really sensitive, I'd recommend getting these two things. When your AKN is getting better, you can use this, or if you confirm the pain or if it's painful, I still always recommend this. But if you can't do this and you find it too harsh, we're going to be using something like this. The next thing that's been extremely helpful for me is after we've finished washing our scalp and we've dried our head down, the next thing that we want to use is some sort of benzoyl peroxide. Now, what people usually get wrong is the whole routine. I'm going to show you my routine next, but what the whole routine is super important. You just don't get benzoyl peroxide and just put it on your AKN. I don't feel like it's going to be as great as it should be, and it's not going to work as good as it should work. So you want to follow that whole routine, getting your gloves, scrubbing your head down with the black soap, and you want to clear everything. You wash it down with water, and then after, when you've dried everything with a clean towel, then after you're going to add some benzoyl peroxide to that area. Depending on how big your AKN is or how bad it is, we're going to take a pea size or 2 pea sizes of this, and then we're just going to mix it in, and we're going to just cream the back of that area. Now, when you use that, you're going to need, I like to use a supporting oil. This isn't necessary, but I like to use this just as general as my regular oil, and this is jojoba oil. And the good thing about jojoba oil is non-comedogenic. I think that's how you pronounce it, meaning it doesn't block your pores, and it's not going to cause you any extra irritation. It's a very good mild oil that you can use. So what I like to do is that I like to get a little bit of this, put it on my hand, get the benzoyl peroxide, squeeze a bunch into there, rub it all together, and then just moisturize my head, and then get some more benzoyl peroxide and put it directly on the AKN areas. And you're going to find that this is going to work absolute magic for you, I'm telling you. Now, this is the stack. This is all. I'm not using anything special. I'm not using anything special at all, but I'm telling you, this stack is going to work for you really well if you follow the routine, and most importantly, if you have a good diet. Everything starts from the diet, and then we use this as extra things to be able to fix our scalp. So I'll go through these again. Jojoba oil, benzoyl peroxide, a facial scrub, black soap, and some type of antiseptic that's similar to this. Now let's move on, and I'll show you my routine, and then you can see how I use all these things together.
Hello guys, I'm going to be showing you my routine of how I treat my AKN. Now, I really wish that someone showed me this routine when I first got the bumps at the back of my head, because it would have helped me so much. And I'm just going to get into it. The first step, the first thing you need is going to be a small white towel, or any type of towel that you can use. And what you're going to do, you're going to run this under a tap and get it quite hot. You want it to be You don't want it to be at boiling point, so I wouldn't be using extremely hot water. But what you want to be doing is getting this, making it nice and hot, and putting it at the back of your head for at least 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes. The reason for this is because we want to open up the pores at the back of our head. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to warm up the towel and we're going to get this and keep it at the back of my head for at least 1 to 2 minutes. So now I've got my wet towel and it's nice and hot. So I'm just going to put it at the back of my head. I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times for at least 1 to 2 minutes. Now that I've done this for at least 2 to 3 minutes, the next step is to use some black soap. So I'm going to show you that now. I'm going to get my black soap and I'm just going to lather this in my hands and put it all over my head, not just the back where the AKN is, but all over my scalp. The reason for this is because we might have infections going on, we want to make sure we're washing our whole scalp, not just this area. You don't want it to move or spread anywhere else. Now that our head's all lathered and we've got all the black soap on here, we're going to get our facial scrub and then we're just going to use this part and go and scrub our head. If you feel like your head is super oozing and you feel like you want to add an extra layer of cleanliness, this is where you'd use the antiseptic. So you pour a little bit on your hand, add some water because this is really strong. So then you just go through the same process, but you'd add some antiseptic during this process. Now we want to get our hand scrub and we want to scrub our head. We want to make sure that we're also gentle at the back of our head. So we're going to use this area and not put too much pressure on the AKN, depending on how sensitive and how far along you are. The next step is to get a clean towel, wash our head down under the shower, and we're also going to use this clean towel to pat our head dry. So now we're going to get our clean towel after I wash my head and pat our head down. The only things we're going to be using in this step is our benzoyl peroxide and our jojoba oil, or any oil that's non-comedogenic, that's not going to block your pores. Depending on the surface area and how big your AKN is, you're going to get a couple pea-sized drops of benzoyl peroxide. So I like to use around 2. If your AKN is larger, then you can use more, or you can just use as much as you feel like is necessary. But I like to use 2 pea drops. I get it here and then I put it at the back of my head. Finally, what I like to do is I like to get some jojoba oil. I put a couple of sprays in my hand. Then again, I'll get just a tiny bit this time of benzoyl peroxide. And then I use it for the rest of my head. And the routine is as simple as that.
Lifestyle and hygiene. These things are going to be so important in maintaining what we've just done previously. I showed you how I use my home treatments to take care of AKN, and now this part is so important because this is the maintenance part that we have to change in our life in general. There's many things, even beginning with like cleaning your brushes and your combs are going to be so important in keeping away any further infections that's going to happen on your head. I've got you covered. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how I keep these things super clean, because I found in the past when I was doing my routine but my brushes and my combs weren't clean, it just caused extra infection. I used to think, why am I still getting extra spots on my scalp? And it was because my level of hygiene was not up to standard. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to keep these things very clean. And one of the things I also want to talk about is your scalp bleeding. You'll find that even after the last video that I've showed you about maintaining and the home treatment, is that your scalp is still going to bleed sometimes. So I do really recommend having some level of silk pillows. A lot of you might probably laugh at that and think it's expensive to get silk pillows, but if you can get some silk pillows, the reason for this is because silk pillows will not irritate your scalp any further. Or even wearing a do-rag, like this is so good. Like if you have a do-rag, always wear this before you go to bed. Having a do-rag around your head will also allow you to have clean pillows when you wake up in the morning. And if you get a silky do-rag like this, it's not going to irritate the back of your scalp. So this is something that I really recommend that you guys also get, is some type of do-rag or a cap. If you don't want to be wearing a do-rag, wear a head cap, and that also works just as well. Just make sure that the material is silky if you can't get a silky pillow. Another thing that I want to mention, this one is super important, and that is making sure that you're avoiding the barbers whilst you're treating your AKN. And I've also suggested learning how to cut your own hair. Even if you give yourself a buzz cut, that's going to help you a ton. So I recommend learning how to cut your own hair or giving yourself a buzz cut. But one thing is just avoiding the barbers like the plague whilst you're going through this, because you don't want to spread any infections to anybody else. And we already know how bad it can be for some barbers not to take care of their equipment. So I recommend not going to the barbers and learning how to trim your hair to a decent standard. The more you try, the better you will get at this, and you will save a lot of money in the long run. Your hair doesn't have to be perfect, but remember, you've got AKN right now, so you need to maintain what you have, trim it. If you don't want to have your hair too low, that's also okay. Just get a clipper, put a guard on it, and just put it to one level. In the PDF that I'm going to add to this video, I'm going to give you some suggestions on clippers that you can buy as well, ones that are wireless, cordless, stuff like that, so you have a certain idea of what to get. But I'm telling you, this investment is going to be so important, and you won't feel embarrassed if you still got your AKN but you want to get rid of some hair and maintain it, that you won't be going to the barbers and you won't feel embarrassed whilst you're going to the barbers. So I definitely recommend learning how to cut your own hair and buying yourself some clippers. This part might sound really silly, but we need to make sure that we're washing our hands and we've got clean hands, because this is so important. This is where a lot of bacteria is transferred, and that is through our hands. So if you're like me and you've got a work where you're at your computer a lot, you need to make sure that your mouse and keyboard are clean. If you're playing video games, make sure that your controller is clean. Making sure that after you've treated your head and we've gone through that routine, that you are not unnecessarily touching the back of your head. I know you'll feel tempted to do that, but trust me, if we want to keep a high level of hygiene, we need to make sure that we keep our hands away from our face and also our hands away from the back of our head or anywhere else on our head. Now, let's go on to the next part, and I'm going to show you how to maintain and clean all your brushes and all your combs and everything that you use on your head. So the only things I use in this video are just barbicide, which is just a bactericide, fungicide, and a virucide, just to get rid of everything in your combs and brushes. And I just have an empty jar, and this jar could just vary in size, just something that you can just put your combs and brushes in, and you just mix it with water, and you're able to disinfect everything and get rid of every single type of bacteria or fungal that will be on there. I like to keep all my combs inside here with all my guards. If you can get something like this to keep everything in one place, that's great. So as you can see, I've got all the combs that I use, all the guards that I use for my clippers, and also the brush that I use for my head. So I get my guards, my combs, and my brushes, and I put them all inside the jar. So depending on how big your combs are, you want to get a jar that will fit everything that you need. This jar is large enough to put all my combs and all my brushes and my guards in here, and it fits perfectly fine. So get a jar that will fit everything that you use. So what I like to do is use this lid and then put 3 drops inside here And then the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to get this jar and I'm going to fill it up with water. So now I've added the water. What I like to do is just close the lid on a jar like this, or any type of jar that you've got, so you can see everything's in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in here for at least 5 to 10 minutes, or you can do longer if you want, but usually I only leave it in for 5 to 10. So as you can see, it's been in here for 10 minutes now, so I'm just going to clean this out and wash everything with water. I put everything on a clean towel and then I just wipe it down and dry everything, and then I'll just let these sit here for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then everything is good to go and is super clean. So we need to talk about exercise. Exercise is going to be so important. You guys might not understand how much exercise is going to impact you, but things like exercise and sleep are going to massively impact the time that it takes for your body to recover. If we're doing things such as washing our head and scrubbing and adding benzoyl peroxide and just making sure that our whole routine is on point, then we need time to sleep and we need time to exercise. Exercising is always going to benefit you in every single way. I'm putting these things together with exercise and sleep because it's just a physical part of recovery. It's a really important part of treating your AKN too. You might not really think like, why exercise or even going running? Being active is always going to help you. If we're changing our diet, then keeping ourselves active is going to massively improve the things that we see in results. So staying active, you don't even have to go to the gym 5 times, 7 times a week. All you have to do is just make sure that you're going on those walks, getting your blood running, like getting your heart pumping at some points during the day. If you can do that at least once or twice a day, that will be absolutely incredible. And trust me, you will definitely see changes that will happen when you've got active body. An active body means everything's working, the machinery is working, the time for the spots at the back of your head and the time for the AKN on your head to recover is going to be significantly faster. When we've got great nutrition and we've taken out all the things that cause inflammation in our body,